It's time you start working smarter and not harder when it comes to content creation. We all have different energetics when it comes to human design, our cycle, and how we become more efficient is when we understand and we honor our energy. So, how do we do that? Well, that's what this episode is about. I'm going to take different aspects of your energy and help you create a content creation plan that allows you to tap into your creativity and flow with how you are designed. This is a powerful episode, and I can't wait to dive in. If you're new here, my name is Cara. I am the founder of Floductivity. This is where we bridge the gap between productivity and spirituality. This is where I teach you about your energy and let you harness your strengths, and we build toolkits where we need support. Let's do this and dive in together. So while we are going to dive into the menstrual cycle first, I also talk about the human design types in this episode on creating content around your energy. Now, my last episode, I wanted to dive into the menstrual cycle and creating sustainable workflows, but it got long. So I'm going to talk about it here, and it's going to be the first aspect I talk about when content creating. And this is something that I really live and die by when it comes to my content, but I always leave room for adaptability. So remember that your energy is up to you to understand and listen to, and allow yourself to listen to the divine wisdom that you have within you. Don't force yourself to do something that isn't feeling good in that moment. So let's dive into how we can plan, create all of our content around our menstrual cycle in this episode on creating content around your energy. In a menstrual cycle, there are 4 phases. And if you're new here, this is something that I've talked about a lot in my previous episodes. Let's just break it down. The menstrual cycle, the first day that you're bleeding of your cycle, this starts on day number 1 of your bleed. If you think of menstruation, think of it as wintertime, hibernation. This is where we just kind of sit back and we allow ourselves to not be out because the weather's gloomy, it's snowy. Think about the energy of winter, and that's what we want to feel with this idea of menstruation. And when you are bleeding, this is a great time for introspection, brainstorm ideas, and really think about what intentions you want when it comes to your content. Whether it's filming reels or TikToks, whether it's writing emails, whether it's recording a podcast, a YouTube, any way that you are gathering information and sharing it with people, that is what we're talking about when it comes to content. Even if you're a hairdresser and you post every so often, if you learn to batch on your content, it's going to be easier and you will be more consistent in how you show up in your content. Let's think about what we want, get really clear on our intentions. You want to rest and relax during this time, because when we allow ourselves and our bodies to rejuvenate and kind of come back to itself, that's when the divine wisdom comes in. So rest, have a journal nearby, write down any creative ideas that you want to do. This is just where we're allowing the inward energy. We have this inward energy, we're relying on ourselves, and we're going to let this wisdom come to us. We're not going to force it. And this comes when we're resting. We're not forcing our energy to do things that it's not supposed to do. If you really feel compelled in this time, you can start creating a content calendar if you want, but you don't even need to do it in this phase. This is the time where we're just being inward with our energy. We're prioritizing rest and relaxation, and we're allowing ourselves to recharge and rejuvenate for the creative work ahead. This is a really inward energy time. It's important because if we're not allowing ourselves to connect with our divine wisdom, it's going to be harder for it to show up. It's like that friend. If you keep ignoring that friend and you're not texting or calling back, they're eventually going to stop trying. That's your intuition. That's your creative endeavors that you're pushing aside. So make time for you to just rest and rejuvenate without scrolling, without TV, sit out in nature, and allow you to sit inward. This is the time where you reflect, see what worked for you. This is where you release what doesn't serve you anymore and you move forward, and we move into the next phase. The next phase is the follicular, and we want to think of this as springtime. This can start anywhere on day number 5, and it can last all the way up until day 16, 17. Every cycle's different, so it's going to take you tracking and honoring and listening to your energy to really be in tune with the different phases. This is where your energy becomes more outward. This is where you get this increased energy. This is where you can start creating the content, but don't push yourself, because sometimes it takes a few days into the follicular phase to have that raised vitality. My favorite thing to do in the follicular is plan and investigate. So the last few days, I'm currently in my follicular, so I am recording, but I also did my research. With my next quite a few podcast episodes, I like to do research. I like to pull out different informational pieces I want to talk about. And so this is where I do my investigation, my research for my content coming up. I'm also filming right now, and so sometimes I feel like filming, and sometimes I like to push it off in the next couple weeks. But this is where we want to get a clear idea of what our content strategy is going to look like. Again, if you're someone that is only going to post a couple times a week, that's okay. This is a great time to get clear, to say, I'm going to post a reel on Tuesday, and I'm going to post a carousel on Thursday, and maybe I'll do stories Monday through Friday. Creating your content plan is a personal, subjective thing, and that's going to be up to you. My content plan always varies. I'm a manifesting generator, and I don't like to force things. So right now, my podcast and YouTube episodes come out on Tuesdays. I usually try to do an email also on Tuesdays, highlighting the episode that is coming out that day, a carousel post that talks about why you should listen to my episode and the benefits of the episode. So usually what I do is my content idea for my podcast episode on Tuesdays filters out into the type of content I do for the whole week. Now, I also do memes on Mondays, and sometimes they correlate and sometimes they don't. Right now, at this very time of recording this episode, I've taken a break of Reels and TikToks, but I will probably be back at it soon, so time will tell. I do have a Pinterest strategy as well, and so what I do is when I'm creating content, I will do things in batches. So I will research a bunch of episodes. I will then plan out when those episodes are going to be airing, and then from there I will record. And then once those are recorded, I will then do another round of content creation. I will create my static images for Instagram and Pinterest, and then I will post and schedule all them a separate time. And it allows me to get really clear on the energy that I'm putting into that exact thing I'm creating at that moment. When I have to record an episode and then edit an episode and then write the show notes and then create the content all like that, for me, it overwhelms me. And so when I can break things into batches, it really helps me to be able to do more in less time. So when I schedule out my Instagram carousels and my Pinterest, I usually do it for a whole month. So the next phase is the ovulatory phase, and we can relate this to summer. We feel more outgoing. We want to be out in nature. Most people have a little bit more confidence. That's when I usually do a lot of my recording, especially for TikTok and Reels. If I'm feeling like I'm creative, this is where I will design some digital graphics. This is the time where I will show up on interviews with other people. If I feel like I want to go live on TikTok or Instagram, this is again where I'll show up more. This is such a short phase. It can be anywhere from day number 14 to day number 22 of your cycle. Again, tracking your cycle is up to you to figure out where that falls, but it's such a short time time, and I could be super productive from the end of my follicular to the middle of my luteal. So I actually do the majority of my content creation in that time. I always want to plan ahead of time. Now, the last phase for me, it's my longest phase. This can start anywhere day number 15, and it goes all the way up until the day you bleed. And this time, this luteal phase, think of fall, but I like to break it into 2 sections. The first section feels a lot more like summer. I have a lot more energy. You might not feel that way. Tracking your energy, learning about it will get you to understand that a little bit more. But once you learn your energy and you realize when you're a little bit more productive than other phases, I try to do more of my content at that time. This is the time where I'm still recording, I'm still creating, I have a lot of creative energy during this time. My luteal phase is the catch-all. I review, I create, I plan, I do everything in this time because I just have the energy to be able to put it out there. But towards the end, I have to be really careful that I'm listening for when that inner season is coming. And so the middle to end of my luteal phase, inner season, it's time to reflect, review, and edit my content. This is maybe when I'm scheduling the things and posting it. This is when I'm really making sure that that research I've done and any sort of blog, emails I'm writing, I'm reviewing them at this point because I've already taken the content. So I'm just looking over everything. I'm refining everything to make sure it's what I want it to be. So when I'm scheduling content, I just use the meta version for Instagram, and I use the Pinterest planning tool as well. So I'm not actually paying for anything when I'm scheduling that content. I do the same thing for my podcast. I can schedule ahead. Same thing with YouTube. These tools allow me to schedule up to a month in advance. My podcast and YouTube allow me to go up to more than that. But that way I'm scheduling things about a month, and then it gives me time to be able to focus my energy where I really want it in the different phases of my cycle. And I'm not forcing myself to show up in a way that doesn't feel good, because for me, that's the way I burnt out. I also really like to do things a month in advance, and then it gives me an opportunity to review how it felt, see how I can do something different moving forward, and really allow myself to connect with my energy on what feels good in this creation process. Because I think so many people have these tips and tools on this is how you're supposed to do it. But if it doesn't feel good and it's not connecting with your energy, it's not going to feel good to you. Being able to batch a month in advance allows me to do something, see how it feels, and then be able to adjust moving forward. I really do that a lot in my luteal phase, that reflection and refine the details. I also want to make sure that in the luteal phase, I'm incorporating a lot of self-care in the process, because my energy is super high and then it drops pretty quickly. And if I'm not in tune with my body, that is when I get overwhelmed. I have put myself in a position that I'm not enjoying the process of the things that I'm doing. So self-care is a must during the luteal phase, and of course, menstruation. So consider taking that into menstruation as well, that rest and rejuvenation. So let's talk about content creation around your energy type in human design. Learning about your human design can really help you understand your energetics. I can tell that a lot of people don't feel resonant with their type, and that's because there's certain aspects of their human design they're not in alignment with. The more we can understand the different energetics with energy centers, our inner authority, our strategy, the more we become in alignment with our type. But right now, I am going to break down the type and how we should use this in our content creation. So first up, we have the generators, we have the builders. This applies to manifesting generators. I am a manifesting generator. This is important for generators to focus on consistency and quality in your content creation. and leveraging your sustained energy to cultivate a loyal audience over time. So it's important for you to establish a regular posting schedule to maintain a consistent presence, and that helps build anticipation among your followers so they know what to expect from you. So a manifesting generator, you're an action taker. The strategy is to combine your proactive approach of adaptability and versatility in your content creation process. So embrace your multi-passionate nature and explore diverse topics, formats, and even platforms. So, tangible suggestions, experiment with different content mediums such as blogs, videos, podcasts, social media, and see what feels good to you and allow yourself to pivot when you feel the need to. When I was talking about the menstrual phases, is I like to batch. I'm trying to make my process more efficient every time I do it, knowing that sometimes leaving out a certain social media platform in that month, it's okay. If it's taking away from your energy from one because you're not giving it all to another, then that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow the passions and the energy of what lights you up. It's important as a manifesting generator to follow your intuition and respond to emerging topics or trends that are within your niche and allow you to come at it with enthusiasm. It's also fun to collaborate with other creators or brands that amplify your reach and leverage your combined strengths. So think about being a guest on a podcast or going on live with someone else. Those are ways that you can really extend that reach for your audience and reaching new people. Next, we have manifestors. You're meant to initiate. Your strategy is to embrace spontaneity and boldness in your content creation. Allow yourself the freedom to initiate and innovate without over planning. So, coming up with a strict content plan may not be in your energetics. So some suggestions are creating content in bursts of your inspiration when you feel called to share your ideas. Experiment with different formats and platforms to keep your content fresh and engaging. Consider sharing behind the scenes glimpses into your creative process to captivate your audience's attention. If you're a projector, you're a guide. So your strategy is to focus on depth in your content creation. So offer insights, wisdom, and guidance that resonate with your unique perspective and expertise. So some suggestions are share in-depth analysis, case studies, personal stories that offer valuable insights and lessons for your audience. Make sure you're taking time to research and reflect on topics before sharing your perspectives, ensuring that your content is thorough and well informed. And lastly, foster meaningful connections with your audience by inviting them to share their experiences and their perspectives. That also creates a supportive and inclusive community. Lastly, we have the reflectors, the mirrors, and your strategy is to embrace adaptability and openness in your content creation approach. So reflect the energy and interests of your audience while remaining true to your authentic self. So some suggestions would be take inspirations from current events, trends, and conversations within your niche to guide your creation process. Also, incorporate diverse perspectives and voices into your content to foster inclusivity and empathy. Lastly, prioritize self-care and emotional well-being throughout your content creation journey. Allow yourself the space and time to recharge as needed. Social media has always been a struggle for me, and so creating systems and processes has allowed me to show up when I feel like energetically I can be myself. I thought I would share these different tips and tools about using my cycle and using your human design in a way to create a content creation process that's uniquely tailored to your energy. I would love to hear any takeaways that you got from this episode that's going to help you in your content creation journey. Tell me in the comments your number one takeaway. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. As we wrap up this episode, remember that hitting the like button, sharing my content, and leaving a comment, you're not only helping my channel, you're actively contributing to the flow of the 7 universal laws. Together, we are cultivating a vibrant, flowing stream of positivity and wisdom. So keep riding that cosmic current, keep sharing the love, and until our next rendezvous, stay true to your unique flow. See you in the next adventure. We'll chat soon. If you want to learn more, check the show notes and all the links mentioned at caradempsey.com/115.